My mother didn't hesitate when she said it at the dinner table. "You'll never measure up to your sister." The sentence landed so hard the air felt crooked. I slid my chair back, every year of swallowed silence burning in my chest, and replied, "Then let her start covering the house payments." Forks stopped midair. My father's face drained of color. "Payments? What payments?" he asked, like the truth might crush him. But that frozen second, the shock, the quiet, the fear in his eyes was nothing compared to what followed, because the real truth was still buried that night. My name is Elena Carter, and for most of my life, I've been the quiet presence in a family that never stops praising my sister. People often mistake my silence for weakness, but that's not quite right. I learned early that inside my parents' home, staying quiet kept the peace. And peace, however thin, was something I worked hard to preserve. On paper, my life appears stable. I work as a senior operations analyst at a shipping firm near the Seattle waterfront. I deal in forecasts, reports, and systems that behave logically. There's comfort in organized numbers that real life has never given me. My days move in steady patterns, the rumble of trucks outside, the glow of my monitor, the steady rhythm of keystrokes. I return each evening to a modest apartment with soft lighting and a narrow view of the water. Some nights I cook simple meals, pull my hair back, and find relief in small routines I can control. But that calm dissolves every Sunday. That's when I drive to my parents' split-level home in the suburbs, a place framed by trimmed lawns and the illusion of harmony. Inside, that illusion fractures quickly. The moment I step through the doorway, I'm 17 again, the younger daughter, the background character in my sister's success story. She has always been the centerpiece, confident, polished, the kind of person who commands attention without asking. She collected awards in school, secured elite internships, and stepped into a career everyone celebrated before it even began. And I, steady and overlooked, watched her claim the spotlight as if it belonged to her by default. My parents admire her openly. They always have. At every gathering, every holiday, every meal, they present her achievements like proof of something done right. Promotions, properties, trips, plans, and limitless potential. And then there's me, Elena, who paid her own fees at 18. Elena, who balanced 2 jobs through college. Elena, who learned never to ask for support, not because I didn't need it, but because it was never offered. It wasn't hatred that shaped our roles, it was preference, a louder narrative they enjoyed more. Still, I showed up each week because they expected it. My father always said, "There's always a place for you at this table," smiling like it was a promise. My mother called if I was even minutes late. "Family comes first," she'd say, though it often felt like my sister came before everything else in our family. The dinners followed a script I could recite from memory. My mother served the same lemon-roasted chicken. My father asked the same polite questions. My sister narrated the same victories. And I moved food around my plate, pretending the quiet inside me didn't weigh a ton. But the Sunday before everything unraveled felt off. My mother kept studying me like a problem she'd decided to solve. My sister looked almost giddy, like she was holding a winning card. Even my father's smile seemed strained, stretched past comfort. I felt it then, a pressure beneath the clink of plates, something building under the tablecloth. I just didn't realize I was the target. That night began like all the others, yet the air felt thicker. My mother lingered by the stove, stirring a pot she'd already stirred, her jaw tight. My sister scrolled through her phone with a grin that felt practiced. My father cleared his throat again and again, the way he does when he's about to announce news he expects applause for. I'd survived enough family dinners to recognize the signs, but I tried to ignore them. I set the table, lined up the forks, and pretended the tension wasn't pooling around our ankles. Once we sat, the conversation slid, predictably, toward my sister.
She's leading a panel next month, my mother said, pride ringing clear. Can you believe that? My father added, smiling like a campaign poster. She shrugged with rehearsed humility. Well, they know talent when they see it. I chewed slowly, swallowing a mix of chicken and resentment. Earlier that day, I'd untangled a budget disaster at work, but achievements like mine never made it to this table. They stayed tucked between unpaid bills and grocery lists on the counter. I tried anyway. I mentioned a project I'd led, the deadlines I'd hit. My mother waved a hand. You're doing fine, Elena, but your sister's work affects people. It's bigger. The comment landed exactly where she intended. I stared at my plate and reminded myself to breathe. It was just another dinner, another night of swallowing words. Then my father leaned back and sighed. Speaking of houses, he said, your sister helped us review some loan documents last month. She's been such a help. A chill crawled up my spine. Loan documents? Help? My sister's smile widened. My fork froze midair. 3 years of payments thudded behind my ribs. Transfers I'd made quietly. Sacrifices no one applauded. Trips skipped. Plans delayed. Savings drained. And now the story was being rewritten. Heat rose in my chest, slow at first, then urgent. My mother noticed. She gave me that look, the one that always meant stay quiet. Then she said it. You'll never be half the woman your sister is. The room didn't just go quiet, it cracked. I felt myself straighten. I heard the chair legs scrape the floor. Years of unsaid words surged upward. For once, I didn't push them down. I let them come. She repeated it, calmly, like a settled fact. Something steadied inside me. I pushed my chair back. My sister's smile faltered. My father looked startled, like he'd forgotten I existed. I met my mother's eyes. Let her start covering the house payments. Silence slammed into the room. Payments? What payments? My father asked, voice thin. I didn't blink. The mortgage. Every month, for 3 years. Faces shifted. Shock, denial, fear. I felt lighter, like I'd finally set down a weight no one else knew I carried.
My mother recovered first, as she always did when control slipped. Elena, don't exaggerate, she said quickly. We never asked you to do that. You did, I replied, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. Every month. Just until things settled. Don't let the bank worry. We'll handle next month. I have the receipts. I have the statements. I have everything. The color drained from my father's face. This isn't the time, he muttered. It's not appropriate. There it was again, the reflex to shove truth back into the dark where it couldn't disrupt their comfort. I stood fully, my hands gripping the back of the chair. What's inappropriate is pretending she saved a house I kept standing. My sister finally spoke, her voice thin and tight. Maybe you misunderstood. Maybe Mom didn't mean it like that. I wasn't listening anymore. I watched them scramble, trying to rearrange the narrative into something safer. For the first time, I didn't bend to fit it. Something inside me locked into place, sharp and irreversible. I walked out without another word. I grabbed my coat, stepped into the cold night, and felt my breath shake, not from regret, but from the shock of hearing myself stand after years of shrinking. Back in my apartment, the quiet felt different. I opened my laptop, scrolled to the automatic transfer, and hovered over the payment I'd scheduled for the 15th. Cancel. A small window popped up, asking if I was sure. I clicked yes. Ending the payments should have felt like closure. Instead, it cracked something open. For the first time in 3 years, my account didn't dip mid-month. The silence from my parents was loud, pressing against the walls. I started walking along the waterfront in the mornings, at first just to steady my hands. Soon, the rhythm of my steps became something close to freedom. I signed up for a weekend cooking workshop. I learned how to roll dough, how to laugh with people who knew nothing about my family history. I let coworkers convince me to join short hikes outside the city, where the air felt untouched by expectations. Distance sharpened my memory.
Every "just one more month," every "don't tell anyone," every praise heaped on my sister while I carried the cost in silence. Then the message arrived. It was a photo from a neighbor who always noticed too much. My childhood home, a banner stretched across the porch. Congratulations to my sister for saving the family home. My body went still. Saving. Her name. My throat tightened as every late-night transfer replayed in my mind. Every time I'd told myself, family comes first. All of it rewritten like I'd never existed. I didn't cry. I felt something colder, steadier. I pulled the folder from my desk drawer, the one I'd never shown anyone. Statements, receipts, dates. I spread them across the table, arranging them month by month. It looked less like paperwork and more like a quiet record of endurance. That's when my cousin called. She lowered her voice. "I thought you should know. Your parents are planning a family appreciation dinner. They asked me to help with the slideshow." I didn't bother pretending surprise. "It's about her, isn't it?" She hesitated. "They want to credit her for keeping the house. They're calling her the backbone of the family." I closed my eyes. Backbone, savior, words I'd earned and never heard. "Send me the file," I said. After a pause, she agreed.
The file arrived an hour later, a shared drive link. I opened it slowly, like it might bite. Slide after slide of smiling photos, birthdays I half remembered, holidays where I stood just out of frame, and then the captions. Vivian stepped up when the family needed her most. Vivian sacrificed so much to keep the house. Vivian held us together. Each line landed heavier than the last, not because it hurt, but because it was clean, polished, a lie wrapped so neatly it almost looked true. I didn't close the file. I downloaded it. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table, river lights flickering through the window, and opened my folder beside their slideshow. I matched dates. January, February, March. Transfers lined up perfectly with mortgage statements. Late fees avoided, foreclosure notices stopped. I added screenshots, labeled them plainly. No commentary, no emotion, just facts, numbers, the language I trusted. By morning, I had my own presentation. 12 slides, 3 years of quiet payments. The title was simple: Financial Contributions, Verified Records. My phone buzzed around noon. My mother. I let it ring. Then my father. Then Vivian. I ignored them all. For once, I wanted them to sit with the discomfort. Late that evening, my cousin texted. "They're panicking. Dad's asking how you know about the slideshow." I replied with one line, "Because it's my money." The dinner was scheduled for Sunday. I almost didn't go. Old instincts tugged at me. Avoid conflict, preserve peace, stay small. But peace built on erasure isn't peace. It's surrender. So I went. Their house looked the same. Trimmed hedges, warm lights, the illusion intact. Inside, relatives laughed, wine glasses clinked. Vivian floated through the room, confident, radiant, already accepting praise. When she saw me, her smile flickered, just for a second. Enough. After dessert, my father tapped his glass. He launched into a speech about family, sacrifice, resilience. He gestured to the screen. The slideshow began. Applause followed each slide. Vivian nodded graciously, hand to her chest, playing the role perfectly. Then I stood. I didn't ask permission. I walked to the laptop and plugged in my drive. A few people shifted uncomfortably. My mother whispered my name, sharp and warning. I ignored it. The first slide appeared. Black text, white background. No photos, just dates and amounts. I spoke calmly. These are the mortgage payments made over the last 3 years. The room went quiet. I didn't look at Vivian. I didn't need to. I watched my parents instead. The color drained fast. I clicked through each slide, letting the numbers speak. I didn't accuse. I didn't explain. I simply showed. Silence settled like dust. When I finished, I unplugged the drive. "That's all," I said, and took my seat. No applause followed.
No one knew what to do with the truth when it wasn't dressed up for them. Vivian stared at the table. My mother looked like she might cry or scream. My father said nothing at all. For the first time, the room felt honest, uncomfortable, uneven, real.
No one spoke for a long moment. The silence stretched, thick and unfamiliar. My father finally cleared his throat, but no words came out. My mother reached for her glass, missed it, then tried again. Vivian stayed very still, like if she didn't move, the moment might rewind itself. I stood up quietly, grabbed my coat, and headed for the door. No dramatic exit, no final speech. I'd already said everything that mattered. As I opened the door, my father called my name. His voice cracked, just once. I paused, but I didn't turn around. I stepped outside into the cold air and closed the door behind me. The drive home felt lighter than it ever had. Not happy, not triumphant, just clear, like a weight I'd been carrying so long I forgot it wasn't mine to hold. When I reached my apartment, I didn't turn on the lights. I sat by the window, watching reflections ripple across the river, and let myself breathe. The calls came the next morning. My mother first, then my father, then Vivian. I answered none of them. Not out of spite, out of necessity. For once, I needed space to exist without explaining myself. Weeks passed. The family group chat went quiet. Invitations stopped. Friday dinners disappeared. And something unexpected happened. I didn't feel lonely. I felt rested. I filled my evenings with things I'd always postponed. Long walks, books I never finished, cooking meals that took time, silence that didn't feel like punishment anymore. Eventually, my father sent a message. No excuses, no defense, just 4 words. We owe you honesty. I read it twice, then put my phone down. I wasn't ready to respond, and that was okay. I didn't cut them off forever. I just stopped funding the version of the family that erased me. The mortgage payments ended, the quiet support ended, and strangely, so did the resentment, because resentment thrives where truth is buried. Vivian and I haven't spoken since that night. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but for the first time, her success no longer defines my worth. I know what I've built. I know what I carried. And I know what I released. Some families celebrate the loudest voice in the room. Others only learn to listen when silence finally speaks. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't demand recognition. I just showed the truth and walked away. And that was the moment my life actually began.
3 days after that night, I was rinsing a coffee mug at my kitchen sink when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw my parents standing side by side, closer than usual, like they needed each other to stay upright. My mother's eyes were red and tired. My father's hands were shoved deep into his coat pockets, shoulders drawn in against the gray afternoon. I opened the door and stepped back. They walked in slowly, taking in the space like it was proof of something they'd missed. The clean counters, the framed photos I chose myself, the quiet I had earned. My mother spoke first. "Elena, we're sorry." The words came out thin but honest. "We let a story grow that wasn't true. We let you carry more than we ever admitted." My father nodded, voice low. "We talked. We want to fix it. We want to put things right." He paused. "The house. Your name should be on it." I listened without rushing. Then I shook my head. "I don't need the house," I said. "I already have one. What I needed was to be seen, to be told the truth, to not be erased so someone else could shine brighter." The room went still. My mother's breath caught. My father stared at the floor, like accountability finally had weight. "I'm not here to punish you," I continued. "I'm here to be honest. If we build anything from now on, it has to be real. No more pretending, no more silence." They nodded, not relieved, not forgiven, but awake. When they left, the apartment felt lighter,
Like fresh air had finally reached every corner. I stood by the window, watching the city move, realizing something irreversible had happened. I had chosen myself. For years, I thought keeping peace meant shrinking, but silence doesn't save you, it slowly deletes you. Choosing yourself doesn't destroy family, it destroys the lie that keeps you small. If this story felt familiar, if you've ever carried something heavy without being thanked, tell me in the comments. I read them all. And if you want more stories about reclaiming your voice and rewriting old roles, subscribe. This is only the beginning. More chapters will come, exploring boundaries, healing, courage, and quiet strength for anyone learning to stand tall after years of being overlooked, underestimated, and told their silence was love instead of truth itself.